Bought a car from America. It cost $14,000, including VAT of 2.3%. And we want to find out how much the car was before VAT. What I always do here is I would write the cost of the car was 14,000, and that's the cost of the car itself plus VAT. So that was 102.3% because the car itself was 100% of the cost. And then we added on the VAT of 2.3%. So now we just want to get the price of the car. So what I would always do, get 1% first. How do we do that? To get from 102.3 to 1%, we're going to divide by 102.3. So we're going to do the same to the other side. Divide by 102.3. Now, when you do that into your calculator, 14,000 divided by 102.3, you're going to get $136.85. Now, we want to get the price of the car itself on its own. So we want 100%. So when we multiply 1% by 100, obviously, we're going to get 100%, the price of the car itself. So we have to just do that to both sides. Multiply this side by 100. And we're going to get $13,685.24. So that was the price of the car. Then when you added on the VAT, it would bring it up to the 14,000 there. Now, the next part is saying, if you bought the car in Ireland, or sorry, how much the car costs in euro if €1 is $1.17. So we paid 14,000 for it, yeah? But we want to get the price of it in euro. So we know €1 is equal to $1.17. Now we want to get $14,000 in euro. So we should just get $1 first. It would make it easier. $1. How do we get $1? We're going to divide both sides by 1.17. Because 1.17 divided by 1.17 is just going to give us $1. So we're going to do that to both sides. When you divide 1 by 1.17, you're going to get 0.85. So now we have $1 is 0.85 euro. But we want 14,000 euro or dollars in euro. So we're going to multiply both sides by 14,000. Like this. When you do that, you're going to end up with $14,000 is equal to 0.85 times 14,000. That's going to be 11,965.81 euro. So that was the price of the car in euro. Then the last question is saying, if you sold the car in Ireland for 18,000 euro, how much profit did you make? Well, we just got on the last part that if we were to pay for the car in euro, it would have cost this much. But we sold it for 18,000. So if we take away the price we paid, 11,950 or 65.81, that'll leave us with the profit. The price we got minus the price we paid will be the profit, or whatever we're left over with. So 18,000 minus 11,965.81. That's going to be 6,034.19 euro. So that was the profit we made on that sale. So the main takeaway here is that if you're going from one percentage to another or one currency to another, it's always easiest to get 1% or like $1 first and then multiplying to get the exact amount you need, or just working like this in steps. You're going to get more marks if you show your steps. If you just try to guess what you're meant to do, you're going to lose marks because you don't have workings. If you have workings, you're going to get marks regardless of if you get it right or wrong. Boom, done. This question here, it says, at the end of a year, Sarah's gross income was 76,000 euro. Immediately, gross income is income she got before she paid any taxes. Then, she pays income tax of 20% on the first 38,000 and then 40% on the remainder of her income. She also has tax credits of 33,000 euro. Tax credits is just basically whatever tax you have to pay minus off the tax credits. It's like a bonus from the government. You don't have to pay your tax credits. You can take them off your tax. What is her net income? Net income, her gross income minus the tax. So, how much did she pay in tax? Well, her gross income was 76,000, but she paid 20% tax on the first 38,000. So first thing we're going to do, 20% of 38,000. That will be 38,000 by 0.2, 7,600 euro. So that's how much she paid on the first 38,000 of her income. Then, second step, her net income, or gross income rather, 76,000 minus 38,000. That's going to be 38,000. So this is how much she has left over now. It's a coincidence that the lower rate, like the first 20%, is the same as like the higher rate, if that makes sense. So she's going to be paying 40% on this part now. So third step, 40% on the remaining 38,000. That's just going to be what, 15,200? Yeah, 15,200. So now that's how much tax she pays at the higher rate. So her total tax will be 7,600 plus 15,200. And that's going to be 22,800. Okay, that's how much tax she paid. But her tax credits are 33,000. So in reality, we're going to be minusing the 33,000 or 3,300, which say, off of that, because that's tax you don't have to pay. Then she's left over with 19,500 euro in tax. So that's the total amount of tax she's paid. So the higher rate and the lower rate minus off her tax credits, that's how much tax she's paying. Now it's saying what's her net income. So her net income is going to be the 76,000 she earned minus the 19,500 she has to pay in tax. That's going to leave us with 56,500 euro. So that's her net income. Net income, gross income minus the tax she has to pay, and just be careful of the tax credits. Simple. Done. This question, we have a van was priced at 32,000 euro and it's depreciating by 10% per year on a reducing balance basis. How much will the van be worth in 6 years? In your log tables on page 30, you should have the formula F is equal to P times 1 plus I to the power of T. That's basically the final amount you have is the principal amount or the starting amount you had with the interest or depreciation compounding over time. In this case, this you can use for interest or for depreciation. For depreciation, this is actually going to be a minus because depreciation means that the asset is losing value over time. So we're going to be minusing off the interest every time. So it's going to be something look like this. So the principal is just the price of the van. It was 32,000. And it's depreciating by 10% per year. That means I is equal to 0.1. So that means 1 minus I is going to be 0.9. And then the time we have is 6 years. And notice the depreciation is 10% per year. So we don't even have to change that from a monthly into a yearly interest or depreciation. It's already given to us in years. So the final amount the van was worth after 6 years is going to be the original 32,000 times 0.9, 1 minus I, over 6 years. Notice multiplying a number by 0.9 will reduce the amount of the number. And we're doing that 6 times. So after 6 years, we're going to have 32,000 multiplied by 0.9 to the power of 6. That's going to leave us with 17,006 euro 0.11. That's the worth of the van after 6 years with a yearly depreciation of 10%. So if this was interest, just know this equation, you can use it for interest as well, but it would that sign there would just be a plus sign because we're gaining money on the amount we're investing. In this question, we're investing 250 euro per month into a savings account with a yearly interest rate of 2%, but we're investing monthly, so we're going to have to deal with that. How much will we have at the end of 2 years? Now, when you read this, you might initially think we'll just use F is equal to P times 1 plus I to the power of T. You can't we are technically using this formula, but we're using it for each installment. So like if you imagine you go to the bank, you invest 250 euro, yeah? Over 1 month, that's going to generate 1 month of interest. But then you're investing another 250. So now, after another month, that initial investment will have generated 2 months of interest, whereas the second one will have generated 1 month of interest. And then you're going in with a third. So it's going to get really complicated if we keep trying to do this. So, unfortunately, you just have to learn this formula. If you're dealing with pensions, or not pensions, installments, I should say, it's going to be P times 1 plus I, square brackets, all multiplied by 1 minus 1 plus I to the power of T, all divided by 1 minus 1 plus I, like this. You just have to learn this formula. If you're investing something monthly, it's going to be this. If you're doing installments, it's going to be this. Now, we have the yearly interest rate is 2% or 0.02. Now, we need to get the monthly interest rate, and the formula we use for that is 1 plus IY is equal to 1 plus IM to the power of 12. So the yearly interest rate is like the monthly interest rate over 12 months, multiplied by itself 12 times. So that means that 1 plus IM, the monthly interest rate, is going to be the 12th root of 1 plus IY, which when we do that into our calculator, we're going to get the 12th root of 1.02. So that's going to be 1.00165. That means the IM, the monthly interest rate, is just going to be 0.00165. Like that. So we have the monthly interest rate. And how long are we investing? It's 2 years. So we're just going to say it's 24 months. Boom. So now we just fill in. The final amount we have will have to be the principal, 250 times 1.00165. Then we're going to have our square brackets. 1 minus 1.00165 to the power of 24, not t, 24. And then all divided by 1 minus 1.00. Sorry, 165, like this. And when you plug that into your calculator, the final amount we should have is €6,125.33. So that's the final amount you're going to have after the 2 years from investing 250. Because if you calculate 250 times 24, that's just going to be 6,000. So we've generated €125.33 from the interest of the savings account. Now, this question here, we're dealing with pensions. We want a pension to pay out €30,000 per year over 20 years. And how much will we have to have saved with the AER average? No, not average. Is annual equivalent rate of 3.5%. So a pension is like, we want to have a certain amount in the pension account that when we retire, we can get €30,000 per year for 20 years off of them based on how much we save. Again, this is another one. It's not in the log tables. You're going to have to learn this, but the formula, it's in the notes. C is equal to P over 1 plus I to the power of T times 1 plus I to the power of T minus 1 over I. So this is essentially saying C is like the cost or the amount we need to have saved. P is how much we want to get back every year or month, and then I is the interest rate, either monthly or yearly, and T is the time frame. That means, so we want 30,000 back. The yearly rate is 0.03, so it's going to be 1.035 is the 1 plus I. The time, it's going to be 20 years. Then up here, we're going to have 1.035 to the power of 20 minus 1 over 0.035. Now, just throw all of that into your calculator. 30,000 times 1.035 to the power of 20 minus 1 over 1.035 to the power of 20 times 0.035. Yeah. Boom. So that means the cost is going to be 426,372 we'll say 0.1 euro. 10. So this is the amount we have to have in our pension account in order for us to get 10,000 or 30,000 a year back for 20 years, including the interest the pension is generating. So last question here for financial math. If we borrow 43,000 and the loan is to be paid back over 7 years with a yearly interest rate of 5%, what are the monthly repayments? We have the yearly interest rate. We want monthly repayments. So immediately you need to think, we need to convert this to a monthly interest. So remember, 1 plus IY is equal to 1 plus IM to the power of 12. So we have the yearly interest rate is 1.05 here is equal to 1 plus IM to the power of 12. Get the 12th root of the guy on the left. So 1 plus IM is equal to the 12th root of 1.05. 1.05. 1.05. So that's going to be 1.00407. That means that IM, the monthly interest rate, is going to be 0.00407. Now, we've borrowed 43,000. It's over 7 years. So we're going to have to convert that to months. So just 7 times 12. That's going to be 84 months. So now we have all the information. What formula do we use? I think it's on page 31 of your log tables. The loan and amortization formula, I think it might be called. Yeah. So the formula is A is equal to P times, or no, it's going to be P is down here, times I, 1 plus I to the power of T over 1 plus I to the power of T minus 1. Lucky that this is in the log table, so if you have all your information, all you have to do is just fill in. So the principal we have was 43,000. That's how much we borrowed. I is 0.00407. Then we have 1.00407 to the power of 7 years, which is 84 months, to the power of 84 over 1.00407 to the power of 84 minus 1. Now, just throw that all into your calculator. 43, 123. That means our monthly repayments are going to be €605.42. So that's how much we're going to have to pay monthly for 7 years to pay off this full loan.